Hello again. Today we're talking about rounding. All right. So first we're going to round to the nearest 10. Okay. So let's say I have 47 and I'm going to round 47 to the nearest 10. Well, if you'll remember, the 4 is in the tens place and the 7 is in the ones place. So I'm going to look at my tens place and see that there is a 4 in the tens place. And then I will look to the right of that 4 and I will notice that this is more than 4. If this number, if this digit is more than 4, then 4 gets 1 added to it. So 4 plus 1 is 5, and it becomes 50. 47 gets rounded up to 50. Let's say I want to round 62 to the nearest 10. Well, remember that 6 is in the tens place, and 2 is in the ones place. So I look to the tens place, and then I look immediately to the right, and I ask myself, is this more than 4? Well, 2 is not more than 4. So if it is not more than 4, the 6 stays the same, and the 2 becomes a 0. So when we round 62 to the nearest 10, we get 60. Let's say we have 75, and I want to round this to the nearest 10. Remember that 7 is in the tens place, and 5 is in the ones place. So I look to the tens place, I look to the right, and I ask myself, is this more than 4? 5 is more than 4, so that means I'm going to add 1 to the 7 and get 8. Make the 5 a 0, and it becomes 80. 75 rounded to the nearest 10 is 80. Let's say we have 276, and I want to round that to the nearest 10. Well, remember, this is the hundreds place, the tens place, and then 6 is in the ones place. All right, so we're going to round to the nearest 10. So 7 is in the tens place. So I look to the right and I see that it's 6. And I ask myself, is this more than 4? And 6 is more than 4. So 1 gets added to the 7. So it becomes 280. And that's how you round 276 to the nearest 10. Well, let's say we have 5,143. And we want to round that to the nearest 10. Well, remember that 5 is in the thousands place, 1 is in the hundreds place, 4 is in the tens place, and 3 is in the ones place. Well, we want to round to the nearest 10, so I look to the tens place, which is a 4. And then I look immediately to the right, and I ask myself, is that more than 4? Well, 3 is not more than 4. So 4 stays the same. So it becomes 5,140. And that's how you round 5,143 to the nearest 10. All right. So let's say we're going to round to the nearest 100. Well, remember that 2 is in the hundreds place. This 8 here is in the tens place. And this other 8 is in the ones place. Well, we're going to round to the nearest 100. So the hundreds place has got a 2 right there. So I look immediately to the right and I ask myself, is that more than 4? Well, 8 is more than 4, so I'm going to add 1 to the 2. So that makes it 3. And then everything else becomes a 0. So if I were to round 288 to the nearest 100, I would get 300. All right, let's say I want to round 549 to the nearest 100. All right, 5 is in the hundreds place. So I look immediately to the right and I see that that is a 4. And I ask myself, is that more than 4? Well, 4 is not more than 4. So the 5 stays the same and the other digits become 0. All right, so let's say we're going to round to the nearest 1,000. All right, so remember 5 is in the thousands place, 4 is in the hundreds place, 7 is in the tens place, and 8 is in the ones place. Now, if I'm going to round to the nearest 1,000, I go to the thousands place, which is the 5, and I look immediately to the right and I see that it's 4. Now, is 4 more than 4? 4 is not more than 4. So since it's not more than 4, the 5 stays the same. And everything else to the right of it becomes 0. So 5,478 rounded to the nearest 1,000 is 5,000. So let's say we have 27,621 and we want to round to the nearest 1,000. Well, remember that 2 is in the 10,000s place. The 7 is in the thousands place. The 6 is in the hundreds place. The 2 is in the tens place. And the 1 is in the ones place. Well, I want to round to the nearest 1,000. So I find the thousands place. And then I look immediately to the right and I see that it is 6. I'm going to ask myself, is this more than 4? Well, 6 is definitely more than 4. I'm going to add 1 to the 7. So that makes it 28. And then turn the other digits to the right into 0. So 27,621 rounded to the nearest 1,000 is 28,000. All right, so let's say we're going to round to the nearest 10,000. Well, remember that 3 is in the 10,000s place, 8 is in the thousands place, this 5 is in the hundreds place, this 5 is in the tens place, and the 3 is in the ones place. All right, so we're going to round to the nearest 10,000. So I go to the 10,000s place. And I look immediately to the right and I ask myself, is this more than 4? Well, 8 is more than 4. So because 8 is more than 4, I will add 1 to the 3. If I add 1 to the 3, then I turn the rest of the digits to the right into 0. So 38,553 rounded to the nearest 10,000 is 40,000.